Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ. And I
and
want to
it is,
apologize for the extended intro. We've been having some problems with our provider, but we're all set
yes,
now.
well, we all had to log in again. We're having
Yes,
all kinds of difficulties, but um, it's Friday in the Riv. We got a lot of things to talk about, but I guess we should start by our condolences to the family of John Perry, who passed away suddenly. And regardless of um, everybody has an opinion, but the fact is that he's unexpected passing was a tragedy, and it always is. And I know he had a family and children, and our condolences go out to him and his family. And now, on a lighter note, um, I have to do a special thing today because if you look over my, well, that shoulder, the shoulder, this shoulder, you see that head stretched out on a bed. That is my Abby. So today I'm putting this up for everybody so my dog can know. Happy birthday, Abby. 6 years old.
she's
Today is
already
Abby's
six.
birthday.
She's
And look,
already six.
she's sleeping so soundly she didn't even pick her head up when I wished her a happy birthday. She will pick her head up later when I give her a treat, but
I can't
uh,
believe it. So she's already 6 years old. Time flies.
yeah, she's already six. And remember her? You remember her when she was that big. So
I
little
remember. I
puppy. Now
remember you
she's,
driving to Ohio to get her.
I know, not 90 pounds of trouble right there. But okay, let's get down to the circus that we have for a city and the uh, you know what's going on with these the budget and the other situations. And we closed last Wednesday's show talking a little bit about what happened to the former head of the park department. And I know you brought it up, CJ, and we talked about things, and we talked about her not getting her sick leave, which is illegal, and we talked about her. Um, I got some further information on that. Um, the city bullied and badgered her, and basically said, if you don't retire, we're going to fire you, and you won't have health care and everything else, which is totally uncalled for. And by the way, illegal.
Right.
Uh, and you can't withhold sick leave. Their explanation of we can't set a precedent was absolute bullshit because the precedent is the law says if you accrue sick leave and it's in your contract that you're entitled to it. She had a valid doctor's note. They didn't even take the time to get one of the city doctors to say that she was fake, and then you'd have to go to a third-party neutral physician. Because let me see, I remember when I was on a job, we used to have to go through this dance a lot. They'd say, well, we think this guy's, we're going to send him to our doctor. So I'd say, who's the doctor for the city this year? Oh, Dr. Kevorkian. Oh, okay. And then and I think the year before that, it was Dr. Mengele. So of course, the city doctor always said they were faking, even if they were in an intensive care unit. So you had to go to a third party, and we prevailed all the time because this is the way it works. But I want to just say that I believe she worked for this city for 45 years. To treat an employee that has worked for this city, I don't know how anybody in there, I don't know how she, managed under the way these things are going. And I know they put a lot of pressure on her, like they put pressure on other people we know that were on boards that tried to do the right thing. And I think that it is inexcusable. They have no integrity, no ethics at all to do something to someone who spent 45 years. And God, I mean, how many mayors is that? We're talking like Viveris administration.
At least.
At least, let's see, 81, 91, 2001, 2011, 2021. Yeah, just about Viveris administration.
Right.
40 years. So we're talking maybe maybe a year or two before the Carlton Viveris administration. And listen, we had our fun sometime with her because she was very particular about doing everything exactly right. And
Hawk Nazi.
there you go. That was CJ's favorite slogan. But I mean, it's just
I loved her dearly, though. I loved her dearly.
It shows the total disregard that this administration has for people who actually do the job. And I'm gonna remind everybody that there was a supervisor of the security over at Durfee that was out for a year at full pay on administrative leave.
That's right.
There were people.
Does this surprise you with Paul? She wasn't kissing anyone's ass. That's why.
Well, yeah.
She was honest. She had integrity, and she did it by the book. And they didn't like that because none of their friends could get anything done for free.
You're right. And I mean, it didn't stop with the security guy.
No, it didn't.
Nobody said a peep. There are allegations that there were people at DCM that were off for a year and never even were on sick leave. They just got their pay.
Right.
And I know over at the housing authority, there was an individual who they were going to fire, and then they came to an agreement, and they actually made an agreement, and I have a copy of that agreement in case somebody says I'm making this up. I have a copy of it. And the housing authority lawyer said, we're going to pay you for 1 year, but you are prohibited from setting foot on housing authority property. So by that agreement, he was prohibited from working, yet he was on the payroll for a year.
Because this is the Coogan administration.
So yet this employee who worked through, I don't know how many mayors now, Viveris, Driscoll, Lambert. I mean, God, 7, 8, 9 mayors. I don't know.
Yeah.
Through 8 and 9 mayors. And they walk in a room and tell her, listen, I don't care if you are on legitimate sick leave. You either leave or we're going to terminate you and we're going to take away your health care and everything else and bully and badger an employee that worked for this city and work their way up from the bottom up through assistant to the head of the park department. That is just, I mean,
you know why?
It says it all about the Coogan administration.
You want to know why? She knows where the bodies are buried. She knows where they're buried. Everybody knows she knows where the bodies are buried. She can take down current, past, and city councilors, mayors, department heads. She can take them all down because she knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
And they're buried in an Olmsted Park somewhere, I'm sure.
And they didn't bury them in a contaminated soil either.
That's right.
They did it in a clean soil.
Right. That's the same clean soil they dumped the Morton soil in that smelled like gasoline that they then dumped in the baseball fields. Right? Our kids are playing on that contaminated soil.
Well, look.
And Paul knows it. And Paul did it.
Listen, I have from an extremely reliable source, I have been told that there's actually a legal opinion from the Attorney General telling the city that they can't not give her sick leave.
Right.
And you know what the city said? We're going to fire you. Come to work. You're not going to be on sick leave anymore, even though you've accrued it and you have a doctor's note. And they didn't even have the consideration or the smarts to say, well, We can say that we sent it to another doctor. I don't know who our new doctor is. Maybe Mengelay's kid or Kevorkian's cousin or somebody. Because we've always had city doctors that were like working on revoked licenses under somebody else's license because nobody would want to be the city of Fall Rivers doctor. And we used to have some guy over in Somerset too that, when you went in there was leeches and razors and stuff. They used to bleed you and put leeches on you. But, to treat someone who worked for this city 45 years and accrued sick leave, because obviously she wasn't a sick leave abuser, and now they treat her like this. And I'll tell you, I'm encouraging a lawsuit. They violated a whole bunch of laws. I have discussed this with, I just got off the phone with a very close friend of mine who is a spectacular attorney. And I mean, some of the stuff they did is unbelievable. And I'm looking at some of the stuff about ethics that I have this thing in my vast. This is guess what that says? It's something that's very far into the Coogan administration. Applied ethics from Santa Clara University. Again, this talks about the public trust. And this is what we have a problem with in this city. We have no trust in our government anymore. Everything has been covered up. I showed you things from when we was warned. And they don't care. They ignore the law. I mean, I don't know what lawyer in this city said you can just take away somebody's sick leave. She has a contract. And I know that when they get sick leave increases, they take less money for pay raises. And then they tell them to save their sick leave. And this is the problem. And you can't get this. And I'm looking for that quote at the end about trust in government. This is a long. Well, it basically says when people lose trust in a government. Oh yeah, here it is. If people cannot trust their government to do the job for which it exists, to protect them and to promote their common welfare, all else is lost. And who said that? Barack Obama in 2006. So, isn't that ironic? But this is what we got in the 6th floor. We let our friends stay out for a year. We get a person who's worked for this city for 45 years. And we deny her sick leave and not threaten, but tell her she was going to be fired and forcibly retired her, which, by the way, I'll save that one for another show, but is illegal. They can't fire her because she had a health issue. There are statutes about that too. And a good lawyer will know that. City lawyers don't know anything because, let's see, you got, who's the new lawyer? What's the new guy's name that was down there?
Fredette.
Huh?
Fredette.
There he is. He's making a guest appearance. Look, we're squeezing his head. What came out? Oh, Paul. Okay. But, we're making jokes, but this isn't a joke. You can't treat people like this. It shows a lack of character and integrity. I mean, this is beyond, beyond the pale. And I've seen this firsthand. This is not the first time I've seen this city take a giant dump on people. And I've seen this double standard throughout my career with this city. I saw an individual who, I don't know if you remember the fire. Remember the fire they had down in the incinerator, those old buildings that were down there, those warehouses and stuff? Well, we had a firefighter that was on an aerial ladder, on an extended aerial ladder, and fell off the aerial and came crashing down on the pedestal of the aerial ladder and broke about half the bones in his body. And he really was in bad shape, and he really couldn't do firefighting duty, full time. And so he said, well, can I go and work in the Fire Prevention Bureau and so I can get more time toward my retirement? And I went in to see the chief, and I said, well, what do you think? Nope, can't do firefighting duty. He can't work. And it was true. He retired, and he's now living on a very paltry pension after nearly dying in the line of duty. Yet for one of the chief's friends, they let him stay on the job when he was immobile. They found a place to hide him. You wonder why I hate politicians so much? That I am always not in a good mood when we begin to talk about things like that. People being victimized. You wonder why I chose to be a union advocate. People used to say, why didn't you run for city council? Why didn't you run for this? Right? Because no. Then I'm going to be part of this giant scam where you go, like Michelle, you got to bang your head on a wall and be the only one. And the people never give you any help. And hopefully they will in November. But as a union official, I could fight for the guy that doesn't want to kiss the boss's ass, doesn't want to play golf with the boss, doesn't want to tell the boss you're always right, just wants to go to work, earn his pay, and go home. And if they don't like you, they'll try to fire you. If they like you, you can do anything you want. You don't get fired. They cover it up. I had an instance one time when they were going to fire a guy that was on the ambulance because the chief didn't like him. And as a union official, I had to be part of the disciplinary process. And I walked into the office, and the chief was very, very upset with what they had done. And he said, I want him terminated. What he did was totally unacceptable. And I said, well, it's capital punishment stuff. And then he kept ranting and raving. And then I got him with the thing. I said, you realize he wasn't on the ambulance alone. And he went, what do you mean? I said, he had a partner. Oh, yeah? Well, we're going to terminate him too. Then I told him the partner's name. And you know what happened? Take a guess, CJ.
Nothing happened.
Yeah. When I gave him the guy's name and said, if you terminate this guy, you're going to have to terminate that guy. And he went, get the F out of my office.
Yep.
And nothing happened.
Of course not.
And these are real, and I can document and I give you the names. I don't want to give the names right now because it's not necessary.
Right.
But I dealt with this shit for 25 years with the union. I saw them go after people to try to fire them for the littlest thing. We even got a chief now in the fire department who wrote a false report to try to get somebody fired.
Yep. And instead of getting fired,
now he's the chief of the department.
Promotion.
Well, leave it to Coogan to make a guy that'll do that because he's just like him.
Exactly.
So this is what you get. There's an old Castilian proverb. Tell me who you walk with, and I'll tell you who you are. You walk with people with no integrity and liars. And listen, Guys, a lot of guys didn't particularly care for the fact that I used to always call it like it was. But one thing they could never say, and even our attorney said, I fought for the guys I disliked as hard as I fought for the guys I did like. If a guy I liked was wrong, I'd say he was wrong. If a guy I didn't like was being wronged, I would file that grievance and fight it. That's why I chose the union, because I didn't want to be in politics where it comes down to whose ass you kiss, and you gotta shake hands, and you gotta kiss ass and slap babies. But that's the thing. I'm not wired that way. But what has happened here again? This is the one of the worst examples I've ever seen. Outside of that guy who nearly died in the line of duty, and they wouldn't give an accommodation for him, but they would give an accommodation for a guy that he liked. So there's a double standard. There should not be a double standard. It should be, as they say, the law is blind. Yeah, no one is above the law, but that's not true. We all know that. That is not true in Fall River. That is not true anywhere. And 45 years. I hope she doesn't let this rest. I hope she fights for what she deserves. She deserves those sick leave. That sick leave. And now that she's retired, the city should take a hit now and have to pay her.
Not only that, but if she truly has dirt on city councilors, mayors, department heads, she should turn it over to the feds. She should turn it over to the Massachusetts Attorney General. Make copies. Send it out to the press. Let everybody know. Send it out. Yeah. Get it out there. Send it to me. I'll get it out there.
What do you got to lose, right? They just gave you the capital punishment. They threw you off the job. I agree with you.
Nothing to lose now.
And, I mean, and not only that, under that, there is a very good possibility they could be ordered to put her back to work.
I know.
Because there is federal law that says you cannot deny people sick time, and you cannot just terminate somebody with a medical condition.
Right.
And I'm sure that Runaway Rumsey doesn't know about it because this is not his field. I guess I don't know what he majored in law school, but it sure as hell wasn't public sector law.
Crayola.
Huh?
Crayola,
yeah. But like I said, we see what happens. You sued the police department, you won.
Yeah.
Sue Cody sued the police department. She won. Everybody wins when they sue, because this city has no regard for the rule of law. You can tell them that you can't do that. And listen, it's in 150E, Section 10. An employer cannot coerce or intimidate employees. Now, that stands in every collective bargaining agreement, but also stands for the general law. The Attorney General allegedly has corroborated that fact, saying you cannot deny someone something that they have in their contract, even if it's not a union contract. So this whole thing has been a testament to how corrupt this city has become under Paul Coogan. I mean, and what is I on the radio talking about? Oh, they were flying kites down on Duval Street. Oh, yeah, that does a lot for the people that are homeless. That does a lot for the people that can't pay. And there were people from Warwick. All of a sudden, that's a good thing. Well, are they going to move to Fall River, Paul? Or they want to pay the $2,000 rents for a one-bedroom? Are the people from Warwick all going to come to Fall River? No. Maybe we got another lawsuit on our hands. A former city official had her building burnt down by a piece of equipment on her property. that shouldn't have been there if it didn't have her direct permission. What do you think, CJ?
I think it's, it's amazing. This person published it on Facebook, published the pictures. A backhoe or whatever it was, construction equipment, was parked on her property and then proceeded to cause a fire to the property. Who's going to pay for that? The city? The state? The contractor? They're going to roll it into the contract? Oh, shit. There goes Paul's $7 million benches and lights. Got to pay for that building. Got to pay for that building. And what the hell were they doing working on a federal holiday? They must have
It's not a federal holiday for illegals. They probably have
they must
illegals
have a
on
crappy
the work.
union or they're all illegal.
Remember, Massachusetts is a sanctuary state. We should have called Tom Holman.
Yeah. No, you're right, Linda. George Thompson did sue the Florida Police Department. And then he died in his home of questionable circumstances. Isn't it amazing?
You mean
they say it was a heart attack, but I don't know.
You mean
that was during the recall, remember?
Yeah, well, remember, didn't they lose the phone?
Yeah.
And it was erased?
Yep.
Mysteriously? There's no, this is like they had, on the world stage, we got P. Diddy over here, we got P. Coogan. So, I mean, it's, you can't, like I said, and I hate ever to agree with Obama, but the fact is he was right. You can't have a government you don't trust, and nobody trusts this city to do the right thing by anyone.
The problem is that everybody likes to bitch, piss, and moan. But when it comes time to vote the mother out, he's a nice guy. He took care of my kid in high school. He put out the food trucks. He's a wonderful guy. The food trucks aren't even from Fall River. They're not even from Massachusetts. They're from Rhode Island. That's why they're called PVD food trucks. Providence food trucks. But Paul thinks it's all that and sliced cheese.
And we make it easy because it's bad enough that the voters don't come out, but we don't have anybody that wants to run for public office.
Would you?
Look now, I just saw this. Only 2 people running for school committee. Well, I don't think that's going to be true by the end. But
no, you have running for school committee besides Colin and Kevin. You have Gloria Sadler Coleman. She's running. I'm not sure of anyone else, but it's going to be an interesting time because if there's only 3 people on the ballot, the school committee's short 3 people.
Well, I can see a write-in for CJ Ferry. I don't know. Write-in candidate.
Yeah,
you got my vote, CJ.
It's going to have to be something.
Danny Robillard, write-in candidate.
That's right, Danny Robillard.
He'd make a great school committeeman. Let's write in Dan Robillard.
Right.
Let's write in Dan Robillard. Danny obviously would have difficult time getting the signatures due to his mobility issues, and his wheelchair has been on a fritz for like 6 or 7 months. They can't get.
Has it really?
Yeah, I really feel bad. I talked to Danny yesterday, I believe, and Danny's chair, he can only go like a couple of blocks. He doesn't trust it.
Yeah,
he can't. He's lost his mobility completely, and I'll talk to him. Who knows? Maybe we'll maybe if he wants to pull papers, we'll get him to pull some papers, and we'll work for him to get some signatures. See if we can get his signatures because Danny stood up for the people on the charter. He was the only no vote, and he wrote a minority opinion on it, and he was right in every assertion he made.
Yes, he was. And we were right the entire time that hearing process was going on. We said, this is bull. This will not work. This is not to benefit the people. We said it over and over again. And again, you mothers did not pay attention.
Yeah.
You didn't listen.
Wonder why.
You never listened. Then afterwards you say, oh, you were right. Oh, you were right. No kidding. We're not stupid.
You know, it makes me wonder, a lot of these people aren't running now for another term. I think maybe they're worried maybe the feds might show up, or we might have some investigations and they don't want to be in office anymore. I don't know. Why would they? It's a nice, easy day. Yeah, but they don't, Linda.
They don't, that's right.
The people who complain the most to us normally are people who don't vote.
Exactly.
Yeah, you talk to them and you go, by the way, did you vote? I had one guy a couple of elections ago that I saw on election day. And I said, don't forget to vote. Oh, yeah, I'm right after I'm done, I'm going to go down and vote. I saw him like a day or two later. Oh, did you vote? Oh, yeah, I got tied up. Really? What does it take? 3.5 hours to vote? No, you walk in, you get your ballot, you make a mark, and you walk out.
That's right. I had one guy and his wife complain to me that their tax bill went up $1,200. I said, did you vote in the last city election? Oh, well, the weather wasn't right. I didn't get out and vote. I was busy. I said, so you voted for the tax increase? I didn't vote. I said, and that's how you voted for the tax increase.
Yep.
I said, your fault, nobody else's. And they looked at me like I had 6 heads.
That's right. Well, we should have a big
said it
sign.
here before. We'll say it again. We call them balls and strikes. That's simple. You don't want our opinion, don't ask for it, because we're going to give it to you.
Whether you like it or not.
That's right.
That's right. We're just going to call it like we see it. And then how people aren't trying to pull papers. We have to have a meeting. Like I said, we have to look to maybe get the Liberal Club and have a meeting and try to pull some people together to do something, because, I mean, I look at this council and horrifying.
You've got less than a month. You've got less than a month to get those.
Yeah, but I'm saying, yeah, but still, you still got to get people to try to get at least, I don't know, but the city's going to die. You don't want to do anything. I mean, even if you get people out to vote, you got nobody to vote for, and that's the problem. The problem is that what we have here is we're going to get these people who have given us the giant finger, approved a budget that we're not getting hit twice, 3 times, 4 times over for the same bill. We've already paid them to pay our health care, and they didn't put the money, they didn't put the money in, they spent it. They took it out and spent it in other places. And now they not only got more money in the budget for health care, they gave another $800,000 because they misspent our money.
Right.
And this is where we get to this ethical stuff besides fiduciary. So I'll read a quick one on this one. Government ethics refer to the unique set of duties that public officials owe to the public that they serve. These duties arise upon entering public workforce, either in an elected representative and appointed or as a member of government staff. For simplicity's sake, please know that we refer to all the public officials, all public actors. Public ethical obligations exist in addition to general ethics obligations, and sometimes government ethics may conflict with personal ethics. And then it goes on to the 4 factors of what they have. You are a beneficiary as a delegated authority to act on our behalf. You are, as a fiduciary, have discretionary power over our assets and our interests. That's it. It's discretionary. That's why you have to do the right thing. And a fiduciary is in a position superior to that of a beneficiary due to specialized access, knowledge, or ability. Well, they don't have that specialized access or knowledge of it because they never check numbers, even though I showed you the case law at the last show. These people don't do their homework. They just keep spending money. So everybody that's pissed off,
it's your fault.
it's your fault. Exactly. Now we got 2 people running so far. We got, I don't know how many, 12 people running for city council. Well, that's 3 people who want, and some of those are Coogan people, so it's a total waste of time.
That's right.
And so again, this is why the city will die. Teddy Roosevelt was right. When the people stopped voting, they no longer control their government, and that's how Rome was destroyed. They allowed the politicians to run the government. And that city council meeting was the beginning, was them telling you, we do not care about you. We do not care about how much anything costs. You're going to pay for it, and you're going to pay for it time and time again. They will screw up. They will lose money. They will do everything.
I want to see a mayoral candidate come out and say, I will cut the budget in half my first day in office. And you know why I say that? Because you say that and I'll vote for you. You don't do it, and God forbid, you'll pay. Because the amount of inflation does not account for the spending. Inflation did not go up 100%, but the budget did. I'm not stupid. I can do basic math.
Yeah. Well,
okay. The money is coming out of the pockets of the people to pay these exorbitant salaries that you're giving people who don't work. Who don't work. Because they're political kiss asses. And that's the problem. And I just can't stand it. Hey, I got to change something before we close the show. Former city councilor has been charged with the driving offenses after an incident earlier this year. The Massachusetts State Police filed a criminal complaint Friday against Ricky Teeth, charging him with operating a motor vehicle with license suspended and speeding from an incident in March. I've got the police report here. It was written by Nathan A. Cavallo, trooper number 4279. It was on exit 8 on 195. He was doing 88 miles an hour. They tagged him. According to Ricky Teeth, his statement is, unnoticed tickets were on my record due to my family member using my vehicle, but I have resolved the matter and my license is active. Teeth is currently scheduled to be arraigned on the charges on August 5th. It's all a misdemeanor, so it's not going to affect him too much. But
well, he's innocent until proven guilty. If his license was active, well, it was active. But I mean, as far as the registration is concerned, like I said, it's litigation. But yeah, we got to put that out there. And who's next on a city council list?
Boomer Amaral, I believe.
Well, I would be a conspiracy theorist and say they want Rick out because he's voted the wrong way a few times, but they don't want Boomer on there, that's for sure. So, but like I said, it's a misdemeanor, and we'll see what happens. But hopefully that it was resolved. And when did that thing occur?
In March.
3 months.
March of this year.
3 months to process the charges?
I guess so.
Think somebody made a phone call?
I think so.
I think so, too. I think so.
It's just like John Perry's death. The conspiracy theories are already flowing around. He was murdered. He died because of stress. It's all over the place. Okay? And I turned around and told somebody, I said, hey, Add a little potassium, goes a long way to create a heart attack, and you can't find it. So,
Well, but I mean, this election is probably disturbing me more than any other election in history. I mean, when we've got a council that is so blatantly anti-Fall River resident and
corrupt,
nobody wants to run,
corrupt.
where's the Republic? Like I said, where is the Republican Party? Where is it?
They
Gone.
never
That's
did
why in this
anything
state
for
they've never
any
taken
Republican
over.
candidates. They have never done anything for any Republican candidates. They wrote Fall River off years ago.
Well,
years ago.
Well, I don't know how anybody in their right mind, obviously they're not very good at analytics, right? So let's look at this objectively. Fall River was always navy blue. Donald Trump won the last election here. He won. We have a lot of problems with the economy, and fiscal conservatives would have a very, very good chance based on the last election and the turnout if the Republican Party got their ass in gear, got some competent candidates that were going to run on a platform of exactly what you said, that we are going to take a long, hard look at that budget, and that budget is going to get, there's going to be some chopping made. We're going to doge that budget.
I want to call Alan Sylvia, get him up here from Florida, and have him take his chainsaw out.
That's right. But they're going to, why isn't the Republican Party marshaling, and I don't mean 20 candidates, get 4 or 5
That's right.
solid people that can run on a solid platform of we are going to do what our oath told us to do. We are going to be answerable and accountable to the people, and we are going to be their representatives and agents, and we are going to do our fiduciary responsibility. We're not going to make them pay twice for health care. We already gave them money to pay that health care bill. They're short because they didn't have enough money in their account, and that was last year's health care. And remember, they approved a budget that had that health care in the contract that was supposed to be fully funded. So we're paying twice. We gave them the money already. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have a meeting, and I don't care. It's not about, maybe too late for candidates. You know what it's not too late for, CJ? They really got me pissed now. I think I'm going to start writing a complaint that we're going to file with everybody, DOI, Attorney General, you name it. We're going to bring up all these laws that they violated.
Yeah.
We're going to show them that they are not upholding their. We're going to start right at the top with their violation of their constitutional duty to be our representatives and to be answerable to us. How many times have you filed for information from this city and been denied or it's taken them months to get you to be? Okay, we're going to start at the constitutional level. Then we're going to go to the statutory level where all contracts have to be funded. Then we're going to show what they did with this money. This money is from last year. I have the numbers right out in the next room up until June 30th, the numbers they worked off. Now, that was supposed to be budgeted. I'm going to articulate all that stuff, and I'm going to send them that letter that I wrote 6 years ago to this mayor. And I'm going to write it to the Ethics Commission. I'm going to charge them with malfeasance on the part of public officials. I'm going to file it against the 8 city councilors that voted for this budget and the mayor. And I want as many of our viewers to come down and sign on with this thing when we have this meeting. Because we did the recall. Let's start and action it. They may get in again because nobody ran. But I can tell you what, if we start this ball rolling now, there could be not only a recall, but in the following election, which will be a very large election, because it's going to be what? Big midterm, right?
That's it.
So we're going to get some, maybe we'll get some candidates. Maybe the only way we're going to save this city, people, we can't depend on people to be self-motivated. We've got to motivate them. And I'm going to write a complaint, and who knows what's going to happen. But I'm going to clearly articulate the law, and who knows, maybe we'll even go to court with it and go pro se and say, look, but then again, you got a Democratic judge. I mean, who knows? They may be as biased as that judge in the Karen Reed trial. But I guess she took it. She didn't like it because she did everything she could to get her convicted, and she didn't. And you know what I heard? It's alleged. You may know it as a fact. But right now, allegedly, she is put in for retirement. She's put in for retirement. Maybe she'll withdraw that now that she was acquitted, because she probably wanted to put in her retirement, because if she was convicted, there was so many gross, ignoring the law. I mean, there was so many reasons for a mistrial in that trial. She knew she was going to get overturned.
Yeah,
they were going to declare that a mistrial without a doubt. I mean, she didn't give props. She refused to give instructions. She absolutely allowed perjury. I mean, you got cops on a stand saying, I lied in the last trial to cover somebody's ass.
Right.
Is that cop no longer carrying a badge and in jail? No, I don't know. People, they had more than one person change their testimony. That should have been a mistrial right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, this judge was in the tank from the get-go. And even that couldn't save her, because this case.
Hey, I'm not a lawyer, and I knew half of her decisions were biased. You could see when she was looking at the prosecutor when she was making her decisions. You could see her body language. She was bought and paid for, corrupt as they come. Yeah. She was corrupt as Michael Proctor was allegedly corrupt. So I don't want to hear about it. Okay, I don't want to hear about it. Well, I think enough for today. I want to thank you all for watching. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Have a great weekend. And remember, it's going to be hot starting on Sunday with a high humidity. So get those air conditioners rolling. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.